Good evening, Wastecasters. I've actually been asleep for the last sort of 4 or 5 hours, which is very novel. Had some weird dreams though, and I don't know, just woke up thinking about vulnerabilities that we all face, or that, we don't all face, but that some people have faced, and the way that we've got local policing and sort of coal-face end user crime reports, and there used to be a phone number for Interpol that you could call, but they got rid of that. You can still phone the counter-terrorism hotline if you think there's something more than just something which is appropriate for the police to deal with happening or occurring. But effectively, every call now, you can only phone 101 or 999, and every call gets routed through at their discretion to just sort of determine whether they think it's necessary or proportionate to use resources to allocate to tackling reports of crime. Which I don't really know if how I feel about that. That it's just sort of like in this dream state, imagining vulnerable people and how difficult it is to get that enforcement. And even though there might be surveillance operations in place, things that are gathered covertly can't be used in court, I don't think. So it creates this sort of divide where we all know what's going on, or they could all know what's going on, but they can't actually do anything about it. They just have to kind of watch and listen. So it sort of begs the question, why? Like, why would we have such an absurd system in place? How is it justifiable? And what is the real nitty-gritty, nuts and bolts reasoning behind the whole thing? I mean, how is it if that was my child, or my brother or sister, or mum or dad or auntie or uncle in a dangerous situation? How would I feel if I knew that there was people listening and watching, even people who had infiltrated these groups, but that, I guess sometimes logistically it's impossible. If someone's sort of like strapped to an explosive device, and they know that, they're not going to come and break the door down, because that's not going to end well. If they know that they, aren't going to be successful, they've got to break down 5 doors, and guys are fully armed with fully automatic weapons. Again, that's difficult, isn't it? With the best hope in the world, it's going to take you 40 seconds and your key witness might be neutralised by the time you get there. And that's a big problem, logistically, isn't it? What I would like to know, I'm sure the God of artificial intelligence will make clear to me and guide me in my misconceptions, misgivings, and worried that we live in a bit of a fucked up world. I asked, if someone, in this example a child, has been abducted by paedophiles in a building, and based on covertly gathered intelligence from satellite, drones, cyber and other means of surveillance, the security services, let's say the NCA in the UK, as well as a collaboration between Europol and the FBI working internationally, know exactly what's happening, but the police force haven't received a report to 101, would those conducting surveillance still be able to raid the premises? As I understand it, there needs to be an application for a warrant from the police force obtained and checked by senior police before a tactical insertion can take place. Is this correct, that a call to 999 or 101 would be the only way to save a child, even though multiple security services are fully aware of the situation? And if so, is this morally acceptable? I don't know if that tactical insertion is a used term, by the way. That's just my guess. But In my limited understanding, despite complex and extensive intelligence gathering, abductees' only chance of surviving or being freed relies on low-level policing, which renders the intelligence gathering effectively useless in a sense as placing any potential informant in jeopardy, as well as placing any potential informant in jeopardy, as some paedophiles work in collaboration with the police force, meaning any reports may be deflected or censored at source. Is this an accurate view? And if so, how can it be ethical? I'm going to let Gemini read it because I'm still sleepy.
Your question touches upon complex legal and ethical issues surrounding law enforcement procedures, particularly in high-stakes situations involving child abduction. Legal framework for raids and warrants. It's not the case that a 999 or 101 call is the only way for law enforcement to act. The idea that a formal report is the sole trigger for an investigation and subsequent raid is a misunderstanding. While reports from the public are a common starting point, they are not the only one. Law enforcement agencies, including the NCA, FBI, and Europol, can initiate investigations based on intelligence they gather themselves. This intelligence, whether from satellite surveillance, drones, or cyber means, can be used to establish reasonable grounds to believe a crime is being committed. In the UK, police officers can apply for a warrant to enter and search premises. A key requirement for obtaining a warrant is that the officer must have reasonable grounds for believing an offence has been committed, and that there is evidence on the premises related to that offence. This intelligence, gathered by security services, can and does serve as the basis for such an application. In urgent cases where there's an immediate risk to life, officers may also act under specific legal powers that allow entry without a warrant, such as under the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984, PACE, in the UK, which permits entry to save a life or prevent serious damage to property. This is a crucial point. The law provides mechanisms for rapid intervention when there's an immediate threat. Collaboration and information sharing. The scenario you described highlights a common misconception about the separation of powers and intelligence flow. In reality, there is extensive collaboration and information sharing between intelligence services and law enforcement. The intelligence gathered by agencies like the NCA, Europol, or the FBI would be passed to the relevant police force to be used as evidence. This is a critical step in the process, as the police are the ones with the legal powers of arrest and search. The intelligence isn't useless. Instead, it is the foundation upon which the police can build a case and legally justify a tactical intervention. The intelligence gathered by these agencies would be used to inform and justify the actions of the police, not to bypass them. Ethical considerations and safeguards. The legal framework is designed to prevent abuses of power and ensure that interventions, especially those involving forced entry and detention, are conducted lawfully and ethically. The requirement for a warrant, or the existence of a legal power to act without one, serves as a safeguard against arbitrary state action. Your concern about pedophiles collaborating with the police is a serious one, but it's important to understand the systems in place to mitigate this risk. In cases of serious crime and high-level intelligence, a warrant application would typically involve senior officers and a magistrate or judge, which provides a layer of external oversight. Furthermore, the collaboration between multiple agencies, NCA, Europol, FBI, would make it significantly harder for a single corrupt officer to derail an investigation. The checks and balances in the system are designed to ensure that even if a lower-level officer were compromised, the intelligence would still lead to action. The intelligence, rather than being rendered useless, would be the very tool used to bypass any potential corruption, as it would be acted upon by a dedicated task force or a separate trusted unit.
Well, there you have it. I was wrong, and you can use intel gathered covertly to solve crimes. Doesn't mean that they are always able to, and this isn't me criticising the policing structure, just expressing my own naivety really, and trying to get an understanding of if what my subconscious mind in my last 4 hours of dreaming kind of conjured up had happened in real life, what that would entail. But I won't make it a long one because I've got to get back to sleep and I've exhausted my meds. So I'll bid you all adieu and wish you all the best for the future. See you next time.